I have merch now.
Click the link in the description, buy the merch now, and have a piece of my sexiness somewhere in your household. So, a clothing store fired a black person, and I guess a bunch of people got mad because they fired the black person, and the company decided to respond with this. To our Artifact community, after deep consideration, we have decided to close Artifact's doors for the next 2 to 3 weeks, effective immediately February 26. After letting a BIPOC employee go, it was brought to our attention concerns of microaggression and racial biases within the store. We value our employees' experiences and do not take their words lightly. Because of this, we will use the closure to take the following steps. Artifact is engaging an independent BIPOC investigator who will conduct interviews with employees. In addition, the investigator will audit our organization to highlight the areas in which Artifact and all of us need to improve to make mindful change toward an anti-racist future. Artifact will take the opportunity to further educate its management team on racial equity, implicit bias, white supremacy culture, and identifying and interrupting microaggression. Artifact will hold staff-wide training on any topics recommended by the investigator as areas of improvement. Our goal at Artifact is to create an inclusive, creative, safe space for all. Hearing experiences that have been anything less are taken very seriously. We have made the hard but necessary decision to temporarily close. In the upcoming weeks, we will be dedicated to training, listening, and implementing change internally. We deeply care about our employees and community, and it's important that Artifact is the very best it can be for all of you. And my only question to any of this is that if you're going to do all this and you're going to care about how everybody feels and you're going to start listening to a bunch of people to the point where you got to hire a black, indigenous, person of color investigator who I bet dollars to donuts ends up being some white blonde girl who listened to 4 black people complain about racism. Why did the one person get fired? Nowhere in this does it specify why they fired somebody. Was it budget cuts? Was it time management? Was this person a bad employee? Was it somebody who no one could be around? No reason was given, which I think is important, because if you're firing somebody because they damaged property or embarrassed your company name, or they got into a fight with a bunch of employees, or they beat up the manager, those are reasons to fire somebody. If you just walked in and said, "Hey, you're fired," and you didn't look at anybody else and say you're all fired too, then yeah, we got a problem. But exclusively just saying, "Hey, we fired somebody and a bunch of people got mad, and so we're going to take the time to understand the history of black, indigenous people of color because it's important to understand why we fired them. Is it because of our white supremacist culture? Is it because we have the money to fund a business? Or is it because we have some hatred towards black people?" You need to specify why you fired this bastard. No amount of learning and listening and understanding is going to prevent you from doing your job as a company. If you gotta cut somebody, you gotta cut somebody. And to all my young job seekers out there, I understand you ain't got no money. I understand you don't want to drive and deliver people's food. I understand you want to make some fast $100 every hour. But understand something, you're not gonna get that in most cases. You could be lucky and end up in a position of power to where you can, and good luck to you, and I hope you get it. But when you have some basic job and they sit there and look at you and say,
"Oh, we're a family here. We work together. We're a community of understanding one another,"
that's ultimately a lie, because at a moment's notice, you can get fired. You could get fired for no reason. You could get fired for a legitimate reason. And at that point, you should just take that and move on to the next job. Unless it's a job you really want and you feel like you've been cheated, fight for it. Do your thing. But if you know you're just here for a temporary fix, you're just getting a little bit of money, you want to buy some dildos and some lube and some onion powder, do your thing. Nobody's mad at you. Move on to the next job. Move on to the job you want. Move on to what you really seek in life. Staying in one mom and pop random clothing store for the rest of your life, maybe that's something you want to do. And if it is, fine. I ain't got no skin in that game. Live your life how you want to live that life. But if this is your first job and you're just using it for experience and then you get fired, hey, there's no skin in that game. Just move on. But to sit there and be an employee and look at somebody get fired and say, "Hey, well, I feel as though they got fired because they're black, and you're not doing a good job understanding the plight of BIPOC people in our society is completely asinine, because your ass could get fired too. But I guess it doesn't matter, because if you're white and you get fired, you just have to take that because the privilege is oh so deep in you. You can get a job again once you get fired. All you have to do is walk out the door and just show your white skin. You have a job on lock. But a BIPOC person, no. They don't have those same opportunities as you, right? Wrong. And to just dance around and try to parade like you don't understand something, and you want to be the hero because you don't want a bunch of people claiming that you're racist for firing a black person, even though you didn't specify the reason you fired the black person. Oh, we got to cover our ass. Oh, we got to make sure that we're doing things the right way. We have to understand one another, everybody. Understand this. Any job can fire you, whether if it's legitimate budget cuts or if they just want to get rid of your ass because you walked in smelling like dick and piss all day. It's their reason to fire you. Don't get too bent out of shape. Yeah, be upset, but move on to the next job, because ultimately, I would hope you'd find a better job that won't fire you just because. And if they do fire you just because, think about that. Is it because you're a nuisance? Is it because you're bad at communication? Do you not do your job? Did you lie on the resume and lie your way to that job, and ultimately after a few months they showed you that you don't know what the fuck you're doing? Could be a bunch of different reasons. The reason I take issue with this is that there is no explanation as to why the person was fired. It's worded as if the bosses just walked in and say, hey, black person, you're fired. And a bunch of people getting mad and outraged to the point where they gotta say, hang on guys, we're gonna close shop for a couple weeks. We're gonna actively throw away chances to make money because we gotta hire somebody to teach us the ways to understanding an employee. We must take the time to defeat anti-racist society. We must take the time to destroy the white supremacist culture that is a 9-to-5 job where anybody, if they do the wrong thing, can get fired. And again, nobody knows because nobody specified. Now, if the person who was fired comes out and says, hey, I was discriminated against, I was hated upon for my skin, they fired me because I wasn't black enough, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, hey, maybe there's a reason there. But to just word it as, hey, lately we fired a bunch of black people and people got mad at us because now they think we're racist and we're just going to take the time to understand the systemic problems that we got is completely asinine. You're not helping, you're just having more people confused, because saying that and not actually explaining why creates the narrative of you just fired somebody because they're black. So congratulations on being shills. I hope pandering to a bunch of people who don't even buy your shirts is the avenue you wanted to die on. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one. Go buy my shirts!